Okay, good.
Good evening. I'll call the school committee meeting of June 1 to order. First order is the script for remotely conducted open meetings. So as a preliminary matter, this is Paul Brennan, Chair of the Sutton School Committee. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. When I call your name, please just respond in the affirmative. Nate Jerome.
I'm here.
Bruce Edwards.
I'm here.
Kristen Clark.
Here.
And I believe Pete Tufts is still working on getting in. And then Ted Friend, Superintendent, if you can run through with your staff, please.
Ted Friend, Superintendent, and Nancy Koninsky, who is the Business Manager.
Excellent. This open meeting of the Sutton School Committee is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's Executive Order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth. In order to mitigate the transmission of COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings and, as such, the Governor's orders suspend the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted with the agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. When I'm done reading, there's a number you can have dialed into at the beginning of the meeting to take comment. For this meeting, the Sutton School Committee is convening by video conference via the Zoom app as posted on the town's website. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything you broadcast may be captured by the recording. If you have pets, other cell phones, all sorts of noise, it will be on the recording. All supporting materials have been provided. Members of this body are available on the district's website. Meeting business ground rules. We are now turning to the first item of the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, I will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, question, or motions. Please hold until you are called. Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in ways that help generate accurate minutes. And if you're like me, remember to unmute your phone when you are speaking. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in conversation with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. And finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. Well, that was exciting. I don't know that there's a call in right now. There is not, so I go to the second item on the agenda is the consent agenda. That's the minutes of May 18 and the bill schedules of May 20, or just the bill schedule of May 20. And I would look for a motion, Bruce. Bruce made the motion, but he didn't mute.
Unmute the phone. I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
I have a second. See, Bruce is on the list. He's going to be first in the questions, and that also made him first on the asking for the motion. So we have a motion and a second. Any questions, Bruce?
No questions.
Any questions, Kristen?
No questions.
And any questions, Nate?
No questions. Thank you.
I see a phone number. Pete, is that you dialed in?
I don't know who that is, Paul.
Okay. So I hear that. No questions. I'm just going to go right back down. All the votes are roll calls. So Bruce,
Edwards, aye.
we're going to keep going, Pete, just, and then we'll pick you up at the next item. We've got enough. Kristen
Clark, aye.
and Nate
Jerome, I.
and Paul Brennan is aye. So that'll carry 4-0. The next item on the agenda is the FY20 budget update, which is Nancy, if you want to present.
Hello. So the update that I have, I just kind of wanted to let you know as to where we stand at this point in time. So due to the school closure, we're anticipating a rollover of approximately 500,000. Now that includes the allocation from school choice of 330,000 to the high school classroom teachers. That's all I really have to report at this time, unless anyone has any questions.
Excellent. So we'll go
Okay,
around.
Kristen.
Bruce, if you have questions, comments.
I do. I'm just trying to find the line item in the budget. It was under transportation, and I'm trying to understand how sped transportation is 100% spent.
We're still paying our drivers. Is that what you, are you talking about the salary line?
I'm trying to find the line,
Is
and
it
I didn't have the ability to go in and highlight it.
Look at 3303, 3505. But it's not fully spent. There's still a remaining balance.
Let's see, I'm in page 35. Contract services, total transportation contract service is 100% spent.
Oh, 3304. Oh, okay.
Yes. And I'm just trying to figure out
Mhm.
how these are.
So that is fuel repairs and maintenance. So that is fully spent. That's the repairs for our vans, inspections, license renewals.
So if we haven't been operating the van since March, I'm trying to understand what the fuel's been used for.
We really haven't had much fuel. That was pretty much used. We were going to anticipate going over that. We haven't had much fuel. The only fuel we're having right now is with Roger's truck and facilities, because the vans are just sitting there. There
Okay,
really
so
hasn't been any new fuel bills. Just the
Then I-
repairs on the vans.
then I
and
would be
buses.
equally concerned about how far over we would have gone if we're going to be out of school for 3 months, what fuel and what service needs to be done that's spent through the budget already. How much over would we have gone, and why did that happen?
So our buses get inspected every quarter. And so depending on the inspections, we get our repairs done based upon that. We just had our last inspection, and it depends what they cite us for and on what to be repaired for. And as far as the vans, so they get inspected also on a quarterly basis. So anywhere from oil changes to new tires to just general maintenance, preventative maintenance. So what I can do for you, if you would like at the next meeting, is I don't have the detail in front of me, is to kind of give you the detail. There clearly was some large repairs in there, and I can go over those with you.
Okay, then I'm equally, well, then I would still be interested in knowing that had we continued in school until June, what would the overrun have been? If
Yeah.
all 4 of those accounts are spent 100% now, what, I mean,
Yeah, it was gonna go
Sounds
over.
like that's a pretty big number, and that's
Yeah.
concerning.
Yeah. We dropped that in this year's budget versus from last year, because actually last year we didn't spend as much. It's just such an unknown figure. But it was gonna go over. So it's one that, it's a hard one to predict. And especially as the vans are getting older, more repairs come up. But I
That's all
can
I have, Paul.
definitely get the breakout for you. Just thinking back, I think one of them, the rotors went, and I think was an expensive thing with the brakes and the pads. That was a repair. But I mean,
Let's get to a point where we've got I just don't think you've got the full list. And I'm nervous that we do it on memory. We're gonna want the full list, I
I
think.
can get that for the next meeting.
Pete, questions, comments?
Oh, nothing at this time. Thank you.
And Kristen?
Yeah, I've just got a quick question. As far as when we're creating the budget and trying to figure out what numbers we're throwing in for all of our transportation and maintenance and all of that, how are you putting that all together? What are you using? Are you averaging the past few years, or what have you done?
Look at the age of the vehicles to see where we are. And I also look at the average of the last few years. It's a combination of both of them. And then I also do the fuel for the last couple of years, looking at how many out of district schools we have compared to the past, or how many we're predicting to have. We added one this year, and then we had a McKinney-Vento one this year that added to the fuel also. So you just try to forecast it the best that you can. But special education can be such an unknown with the out of districts too. It's a hard one to do. So most of the time, I look at the age of the vehicles, and then I do an average of the last probably 2 to 3 years.
Okay. All right. I'm good.
And Nate?
Yeah, just kind of, I'll be looking for the transportation information, because that's one, to Bruce's point, I understand sometimes you just say, okay, well, let's go ahead with the maintenance that we would do, but fuel wise, how much would we have been over had we done another 4 months? Some certain things that you obviously wouldn't get done. So that'll be interesting to see. But aside from that, no questions. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm sort of in the same spot. I think we need an item on the agenda. I get concerned that we don't have a good sense of what it costs to operate buses, and we should, because we buy them, and every time we go to buy them, we have this discussion around how much does it really cost. I also would like to get a sense of how far over we were going, because I would anticipate some warning if we know we're going to go over on a line. You don't have to wait until we're over on it, or until we got to vote right then and there to cover it or shut it down. That forcing our hand, or because we've spent down the money and knew we were going to be over, is a real problem. So I do think we should add sufficient time in the next meeting to really understand how that was going and how those bills were maybe on the bill schedule. Maybe we should have seen that coming up as it was building in the bill schedule, because I assume all the maintenance is there.
Yep.
And then I get Kristen your question around how are you planning the numbers? I think that's part of the detail. Around any other questions? Next item on the agenda is the FY21 budget discussion. Don't go on mute, Nancy. You're next again.
I think Ted is gonna.
Oh, it's Ted. Sorry, Ted, I'm
believe-
cutting you off. I was only saving you for the, the update and the evaluation, but you can.
That's fine. Really, there's not a lot that we can say at this moment, because there's so many unknowns. But first I want to say that with the remaining money that will go back into school choice, just so you have an idea, as we're planning and looking at the budget, we should have about $1.1 million at the end of this year in school choice. So because we closed down school and we're able to save money, we're able to build that account up. And again, it's something that we're going to have to balance out how much of that account we use next year to offset if there are decreases in revenue in other areas, knowing full well that next year is not going to be the only year we're going to have budget problems. So I just wanted to give you that figure. Our FinCom meeting is June 9th. That's when Paul will present the budget that we presented in January, and he'll present that to the FinCom. And again, Nancy and we have been developing a couple of different budget scenarios. One if we have a 5% cut in Chapter 70, one if we have a 10% cut in Chapter 70. We've also taken into consideration that there will be parts of our budget that we will not need next year because of the COVID-19. As an example, field trips. We do not anticipate field trips next year. So those are areas that we're able to reduce the budget. But we also, again, it's hard to look at next year's budget if we don't have a Chapter 70 number, if we don't know if the federal government is going to have another COVID-19 budget or bill that would offset some of the state and local funding gaps like they did in 2010. So we've begun the process. We've identified several $100,000s of cuts. We've also developed a next line of cuts if we have to go deeper into those cuts. But again, it's too preliminary to really know until we see what the actual revenue is going to be. The other thing we have to wait for is the guidance from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. That is supposed to come out in 2 weeks. And my understanding is when this guidance comes out, much of the guidance is going to be mandatory. And so once we have that guidance, then we're going to know, is it a combination of remote learning? Is it like you hear these rumors? Is it going to be half the kids come 1 week, half the kids come the next? Again, until we have a better understanding of that, it's hard to build a budget. We have the budget built. It's just a matter of tweaking it. And again, as another example to next year's budget, if only half the kids come in, will there be support staff? How much support staff will we need? So any of the instructional assistants that gave their notice this year who intended to leave, which happens every year, we are not filling any of those positions until we know full well what school will look like next year. So I think Paul and I have spoken. I think having some short regular meetings over the next couple of months to keep you updated as new developments take place is going to be vital. I don't know how we can possibly settle an STA teacher contract without knowing what our revenues are going to be. So we're just in a holding pattern. We're prepared to make cuts based on the revenue. I just think we need to have further discussions as a body once we get more information.
Bruce, questions, comments?
Ted, guidance from DC. Is this guidance on whether we're going back in August, September, or what is this guidance on?
That's exactly, it's what will the fall look like? What will be the requirements? I've been on conference calls, so we have to have 3 months of PPE for our staff, for our nurses, they're gonna give us guidance. You can only have, they may come out and say you can only have 12 students in a classroom at any one time. They may say, this is what we talked about the commissioner last week. I have another meeting tomorrow morning. He talked about having half the students go 1 week and half the students go in the following week. But nothing's finalized yet, and they're supposed to come out with that guidance in 2 weeks. So once we have that, and if it's determined that the first half of the year, you can only have half your population in the building, then that will change how we staff our building for support staff. If they say it's going to be remote learning to start the school year, well, that changes the equation as well. So once we get that, we can have further discussion about how to build a budget around that.
Are they taking, I hope they're taking input from people like yourself, and it's not just a state committee that is doing this? They've
got both the teachers unions, they have 4 superintendents, They have principals, teachers, parent groups, the MASC is involved. So it's a big group. My understanding, though, it's not going all that well. I think with so many people, so many voices, I mean, we all live it every day in our own lives, how this pandemic has affected all of our lives, and to try to formulate a plan for 351 cities and towns is not an easy task. But they know that they need to get in our hands as quick as possible a plan. And one of the things, the plan has to have some continuity. What we can't have is Millbury and Northbridge and Sutton and Grafton and Oxford all doing different things next year. And so if they decide it's going to be only 12 kids in a classroom and it's going to be every other week, then we can plan for that. But there's so many loose ends, Bruce. What if a staff member can't come back to work? What if a student can't come back to work? What if a family decides they want to homeschool their child? Are we going to be required to provide remote learning for those families? And those are just a sample of hundreds of questions people are going to have. So the minute I get that guidance, I will share with the committee. Our next meeting is June 15th. And hopefully by June 15th, we'll have that guidance. And we can at least begin to talk about a plan. To this question, though, one of the things we did secure was a $36,000 Title I grant. And we wrote that grant to provide, and that was going to be in my superintendent update, but while you're asking. So we have a seed money of $36,000 to pay our educators to work over the summer to plan for remote learning, to plan for the possibility that only half the students can come into the building at any one time, and how we meet the demands that our students are going to have to get them caught up with some of the things they lost last year, but also if it's going to be remote or every other week, how do we guarantee that we're delivering the curriculum to all students effectively? So that gives us some seed money to get started. We'll probably need a little bit more money than that. And we'll look at the teacher quality grant and some other areas to add some more money to that pot. It's going to be a little crazy, I think, next year, at least at the beginning.
Thank you.
Others are good. Okay. Pete, questions, comments?
No, I think Bruce said the same things I was thinking. Thank you, Ted.
First always gets to do the easy questions.
Yeah.
Kristen.
I'm just concerned about how quickly they're going to get something out to us and how quickly can we respond. As we need flexibility is ultimately where next school year is going to be. It's flexible. So everybody on board, I'm hoping, is going to be able to and is willing to work to make this happen.
I think flexibility is a good word. We're all going to have to be very flexible, that's for sure.
Nate.
No further questions. Thanks.
Nothing. So that's that item on the agenda. I got two screens and neither of the screens have what I'm looking for. There it is. Next item on the agenda is the superintendent's evaluation. I'll start with the apology that I got it out at least 4 minutes before the meeting today. I don't think there were any changes in wording that folks went through, but because I got it out so late, what I think makes sense is I'll run through, do the scoring piece of it, and then open up for comments from there. And then obviously we'll vote on and make this available after we've approved. Yeah. So now I won't see any of you. I'll just see the screen on the evaluation. The first three items were goals, and each of those goals, there is an opportunity to rate from high to low, exceeded, met, significant progress, some progress, or did not meet. You can imagine a note in here that indicates for these goals, we had a bit of a shift midway through the year. So the goals will, in all likelihood, carry on into the following year. The first goal was to develop a strategic plan that will outline targeted goals and next steps for advancing the Sutton Public Schools into the 21st century. And this we rated at significant progress with individual scores, 2 at met, 1 at significant progress, and 2 at some progress. The next goal was forming a committee to examine restructuring of the school district. Again, this rated summary of significant progress, and the individual ratings were 3 at met, 2 at some progress. The third goal was to finalize a contract with the Teachers Association. Again, this rated overall at significant progress with 1 at met, 3 at significant progress, 1 with some progress. And I will say that each of those, we carried forward all of the individuals' comments in each section, so that I didn't try to summarize or boil it into the individual comments into one. They're all available. The next section of the evaluation, and again, I'll commentary, this evaluation is set up and provided by the state, the format that we're working in. So in here, we rate on the standards. The first standard is instructional leadership, which these can score 4 different scores: exemplary, proficient, needs improvement, or unsatisfactory. So for instructional leadership, the summary score was a proficient, and it was based off of 1 exemplary and 4 proficients. The next standard 2 was management and operations. The summary was proficient with 1 exemplary, 3 proficient, and 1 needs improvement. The third standard was family and community engagement. This one, the summary score was exemplary, and the individuals were 3 exemplary and 2 proficient. Standard 4 was professional culture, which rated proficient with individual scores of 2 exemplary, 1 proficient, 2 needs improvement. And then the last one, in case you were worried it went on forever, the last one was overall performance, which the summary rated at proficient, and the individual ratings were 1 exemplary, 3 proficient, and 1 needs improvement. And I know Ted has acknowledged he's had a chance to read, but again, he didn't get it until just tonight. And so I'll open up for comments, and that starts with Bruce.
Yeah, I would like to see us do this so that if we're elected officials, I would like people to read this to know how each member of the school committee voted or rated and what their comments were. The Board of Selectmen do this that way for the town administrator. There should be no reason that the school committee can't do that for the superintendent. I have no reason to not have my name by any grading or any comment that I made. I just think it needs to be open and transparent.
I'm going to take it as a comment to me. I don't disagree. It's historically what we've done. So I'm comfortable with that. And as we go through the comments, let's take that as a suggestion. Do we attach all of the individuals? I think it's a more than fair suggestion. We got to come up to a summary, but it doesn't mean we can't have the individual scores in there. Other comments or questions?
I have
no
none.
problem.
Okay. Pete?
I was just going to say I have absolutely no problem having my name attached to my comments.
Any other questions, comments for the actual evaluation?
No, I'd just say I'm fine with having my name attached to whatever I'm putting in there. Plus, I'm wondering, we do this, we put this out there, and we all make comments, whether it's how we can improve, how we can make things better. Shouldn't that be part of the goals then for the next fiscal year? Or shouldn't that be a point of discussion then if people are finding, or there are things that seem to run as a theme through here? Shouldn't that be a point of discussion and perhaps action, or made into an action?
I think it's a great idea. And when we work on goals next year, if we don't remember, you should bring up. But for sure, it's fair game if we saw something that we thought we'd like to see
Okay.
change or improve. For sure.
I think that only makes sense.
Nate.
Yeah, same. I would have no issue. I think it makes sense. We provide the summarized evaluation, which is kind of the official, but I don't see any reason why we couldn't have this in a packet available online, as we normally do for items from school committee, where it has all the evaluations. It should be public information. So I think that's a fine idea.
Excellent. So I'm not even going to look for a motion on that. Everybody is it's friendly. What we'll do is we'll attach all of the individual evaluations. There's one evaluation that we as a committee will vote on. It's the one that's right now presented. The comments haven't changed. There's some cases where there were double spaces in between periods that I've reduced, but that's easy enough to do scoring wise. I would just like to say from an evaluation perspective, it's got to have been 8 or 10 years. I'm not sure. Mr. Friend's been superintendent, and the team that he has put together and the working relationship with the committee, with the staff, with the town, with the community has, I think each year gotten better. And I think each year we tend to just sort of expect that, but I don't believe it's what you get with every superintendent. So I'm really have just been thrilled at how much easier it makes our job that you're there, Ted. Yeah, Ted, if you want to comment.
Thank you. Yeah, it's 10 years. I'm finishing my 10th year, and I thank you for the work you put in to do this, your volunteers, and I will certainly take your feedback, and I think we all need to get better, and certainly next year we're all going to need to get much better because it's going to be a very different environment, at least for the next couple of years. So thank you.
Other comments, or I'll open up for a roll call vote. Bruce?
Do you need a motion?
Of course. Okay, but you forgot to get off of mute once already this meeting, so we're even.
I move to approve the superintendent's evaluation as presented.
Second. Have a second too. Thank you. Now we'll go for the roll call vote. Bruce?
Edwards, aye.
Pete?
Tufts, aye.
Kristen?
Clark, aye.
And Nate?
Jerome, aye.
And Brennan, aye. Thank you. That carries. Next item is superintendent's update. What do you got left for us, Mr. Friend?
I already went through a number of things already. The first thing I want to mention is I have an MOU with the teachers union, the STA. Next year, instead of having 26 pay periods, we're going to have 27 pay periods. Doesn't change their pay at all. It's just they're going to get paid out over 27 versus 26. I have an MOU that I'm going to have Paul sign. But every 4 years, there's a 3-year gap in when they get paid. And so we realized all we had to do was make it 27 pay periods that leap year. And that way they get their pay every 2 weeks. It'll just be smaller amounts.
And I think you said, but we can actually vote that in the next meeting. It won't matter. So we'll have it ready,
so
but we can
Diane,
take
make
it for
sure that's
comment
on
and
the
vote on it
agenda,
in
and
the next meeting.
I'll do that. Thank you. As I said, our next meeting is June 15th. All schools are finishing up this school year, but they've already begun the process of proactively planning for what next year potentially could look like, both academically, social, and emotionally. So they're beginning that work and beginning to change gears a little bit. The middle school is working on their 8th grade promotional video. Unfortunately, They're not going to have the traditional promotional that they normally have, but they're working on that. This week, this Thursday, there's going to be a high school senior parade through town. It's been sent out throughout on the website. We've emailed it out. And then what they're going to do is they're going to drive through the semicircle. We'll have a stage. We'll be socially distanced. They'll get their diploma. Now, this is not the official ceremony. We have an official ceremony scheduled for Thursday, August 6th. That would be outside on our school campus, following all appropriate social distancing. So this is something that just kind of, it was the traditional or the original date for this. And so we wanted to do something nice for our students. And the last thing I wanted to mention is the custodial staff has painted 10 rooms so far. And through the COVID-19 grant that the town and the school have received, we've ordered for the school system 4 industrial machines, the machines that disinfect the classrooms. And so we'll have them on each floor of each building so that each night when we return to school, we will be able to disinfect our school every single night going forward. And let's hope it doesn't happen, but if there is a situation where someone tests positive in school, my understanding is we'll have to shut the school down for 3 days. This will allow us to get in and do our deep cleaning much quicker using these machines. These machines cost approximately $4,000. So well worth the investment using that one-time fund. And that's all I have.
Bruce, questions?
Yes. Ted, what is the last day of school this year?
June 19th.
June 19th. Okay. And question for the entire committee. Should we collectively as a group be somewhere on Thursday when the seniors do their tour?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I was going to ask if whether it was the August or the tour that the committee would participate if at all. But I think your suggestion, Bruce, makes a bunch of sense. So let's give everybody a couple 15 seconds to process it, and then as soon as we go to new items, pick a date, time, place, if that makes sense.
And then I did have one more question for Ted. PPE, are we ordering that now to get ahead of the curve for the fall, or have we ordered it already?
We're ordering it now. Michelle Donovan, our lead nurse, and Cheryl Lewinsky are working on that list. We've ordered a bunch. Actually, we've already ordered it. We've ordered the 200 face masks. We've ordered 100 gowns for the nurses. We've ordered the gloves, the masks. Because you're right, if you don't get it soon, it's all gonna be backlogged. Same with we've ordered 100 Chromebooks. After that, you'll probably be waiting several months because it'll all be back ordered.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Pete, questions?
No, I think Bruce's idea is great. I'm not sure where I could be for a 3:30, but maybe at the school towards the end might be appropriate if we're somewhere close by in the distance.
And Kristen?
Well, the staff, just so you know, the staff is going to be lining the curved roadway where the buses park. And so we're going to set up chairs where people are going to be 6 feet apart. And we can certainly put 5 chairs out for the school committee to be close to the stage to be there if you would like to be part of that. That's not an issue. I'll make sure that gets done. So anybody who wants to come, you just show up. I forget exactly. I want to say it's like, what did it say, like 4:30? I know I'm getting there at 3:30. I think the parade lasts from 3:30 to 4:30. And then the kids are just going to drive through in their car and hand them the diploma.
So settled, there's an invite. Ted, can you make sure everybody gets an email with an invite with any logistics around
Sure.
where would you park, how do you get to the seat? And can we make sure that each of the committee members looks at their calendar, make sure they can either make it or not, so that we don't end up with one there and 4 empty chairs. Not that could happen, but
I'm probably a 5 o'clock arrival personally.
right. So let's just if Ted, if you can send the invite and we'll work that. And if it's this year we get to go to 2, great. Kristen.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure because things are picking up at the practice. So
Any questions or comments other than that on the superintendent's update?
Nope.
And Nate's no.
Am I on mute? No.
You were.
Was I? Okay. Yeah, I mean, it says the parade leaves at 3:30. So if the launch, that would mean we'd probably have to be there at 3.
No,
Set up.
no, you'd have to be there at probably 4:15 because they're going to drive around town. They're going to do a slow drive through town. And
So
then-
would we be there for when they return?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great. Because I'm on the parade route, so I get a chance to wave pretty easily from home, and happy to see them back at the campus too. Great, great achievement getting through our school system. So, want to show the appreciation. All right, thank you.
New business agenda items, action items. Bruce.
I have nothing.
Pete.
Me either. Thank you.
Kristen.
nothing here.
And Nate.
Same. Nothing more. Thank you.
Thanks again, everybody. It's an adventurous way to do this. I'll come to you, Ted, just to close out. We do have meeting on the 15th, and as Ted said, my sense is what I'll do is keep going with short meetings, but more frequently, just because I think if folks want to watch, it gives them a chance to get an update, and it's still a fairly fluid situation. So Ted, you had something.
Just a reminder, FinCom is Thursday the 9th. It starts at 6:30. If you look at the agenda, we're last on that agenda. So I think you have BVT's first, and I think there's 2 other departments that go before us. And there'll be an invitation that goes out to everybody.
And I'll get together with Nancy and Ted prior to. We'll use the original budget, and then it's open to everybody. So come on, come on.
We will
Ted?
have another meeting beforehand, but there is town meeting the 22nd, I think.
Correct.
With voting on the 23rd. And I think there was something we had to register for the town meeting because obviously things are a little different. So I would
Today's the
encourage
last day.
Today's the last day to register?
As far as I know, yeah.
All right, I thought it was the second.
Well, my phone's ringing.
Register to vote.
Oh, to vote. I thought you had to register to attend the meeting. Okay.
Is that right? I hadn't heard that, but it's
Everything's so different now.
No, you don't have to register to attend the
That's
town
good.
meeting. Just if you're not registered to vote, you just have to be sure to be registered so you can vote in the town meeting.
Okay.
My
Thank you.
bad.
And Ted, the FinCom meeting is actually at 6 o'clock.
He's saying, I'm sorry, I thought it was a different time, but
It's at 6 o'clock. I just want to let you know.
And we're last on that agenda, correct?
I do not have the agenda yet, so
Well,
I can't confirm
okay.
that. But
Right.
yeah, I'm sure BVT is first. He usually goes first.
Okay. Thank you. I'll put that on my calendar.
anybody want to make that last motion, Bruce?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second,
Second and third. This is roll call. Bruce,
Edwards, aye.
and Pete,
Tough side.
Kristen,
Clark, aye.
and Nate.
Jerome, aye.
It'll be a different list of people next time. Brennan, I carries 5-0. Thanks again, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Bye.
Take care.